Hey everyone, it's Mike. Before we start the episode, I have a cool question to ask. Do you own a brewery? Do your customers love trivia as much as I do? Well, then you better listen up. Because Geeks Who Drink weekly trivia nights are the cornerstone of event programming for over 650 breweries and bars nationwide. Geeks Who Drink trivia is consistently fun and low-effort way to build a community of regulars because we all need our norms, cliffs, and all that, but we want to bring more people in as well. So you can even turn that slow weeknight into the busiest night of the week. So get started with this exclusive offer for my Taproom listeners and get your first quiz night free. Go to geekswhodrink.com/taproom and enter promo code Taproom. That's geekswhodrink.com/taproom, promo code Taproom. And now, on to the episode.
All right, and we're back. This is episode 76 of the Taproom Podcast, and I'm your host, Mike. Oh, man. Was at my little baby cousin's birthday party yesterday, and might have had a few. And when I say a few, I mean a lot. Holy shit. Am I hungover? So, needless to say, this is going to be a short intro. But yeah, it was a good time for Maddie's birthday, and had some really great beer. I went about a 4-pack of that Old Stump Summer IPA. Crushed all 4 of those. Crushed 2 Creature Comforts, the Fairway Finders. I crushed a Hazy, and might have shotgunned a bunch of beer. I don't know how many, but I did. It was a pretty wild night, eh? Yeah, I don't really have any headlines. Oh, Packers signed Jordan Love. I know Tua got paid. I don't know, quite a few people are getting paid right now. So I was like, man, at least they locked up Jordan Love for a few more years. Did do a couple polls this week. Actually, I did one poll, and then I did the questions of the week. The poll for this week was to keg stand or not to keg stand. And 290 people voted to keg stand. 170 people voted no keg stands. I've always been a keg stand guy myself. Might have done quite a few, but it was a good, those are the old days. Haven't done a keg stand in forever. But yeah, I always used to love do the one-arm keg stand because obviously there's a 2-arm, somebody holds it for you. I would always do the Superman and do that myself. And the Geeks Who Drink question of the week was, what state has the second most craft breweries in America? And 320 people voted Colorado. And honestly, I thought it would have been Colorado. But this is also stats from 2022, because that was the latest stats I could find on Google. But Pennsylvania was had the second most breweries. Then I believe it was New York, Colorado, Washington. But it was fairly close. So that could have changed. So it could be Colorado now. Let's see. Only 100 people selected Pennsylvania, 70 people selected New York, 60 people selected Washington, and 320 people selected Colorado. And then the next question was, when was the iPod Touch first released? Answers were 2006, 2007, 2008. When in order there, the answer was 2007. 230 people said 2006, 210 people said 2007, and 2008, only 70 people. I think this is the first time that both questions, the majority of the answers are wrong. But then again, it could be a technicality because Colorado could have more breweries now. So we'll have to get the stats, from last year and see if we can get those numbers. But yeah, this episode is the episode with Chris Williams. Probably should have mentioned that a while ago. Like I said, I'm hungover, but this is Chris Williams, the competition director for GABF and also World Beer Cup. It was a really cool conversation and really insightful and learning how that whole process, goes. And it was really cool. But then also after that portion of the interview, because it'll be about 30 30 to 35 minutes with Chris. And then I was able to talk to David Hurtado from Bone Shack BBQ. Yesterday, got to see him before he leaves to Texas. I'm going to go see him. I think he's going to be at Gunwale Ales over in Costa Mesa next week. So I'm going to try to stop by and see him next Saturday. I have a brew with him and have some of his barbecue before he takes off. But yeah, just a really good dude, really good barbecuer. So yeah, that's about a 13, 14 minute portion of it. So stay tuned for that after the interview with Chris. And yeah, so we'll jump right into the interview. Cheers, Tap Fam. Enjoy.
All right, guys, we're back in the tap room, and I'm your host, Mike, and I have a very special guest on today. His name is Chris Williams. He's a competition director for WBC. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for coming on. I know we've been kind of emailing back and forth, so I'm glad we got to make this happen.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me.
Of course, man. And I saw you had a beer. What are you drinking?
Wait, I just pulled from what we have on tap here. It's a New Zealand Pils from Old Ridge Brewing in Estes Park. So just sort of up in the mountains in Colorado.
Oh, I love that. Anything New Zealand, just sign me up.
Yep. So what are you drinking today?
So I have right now, it's this one that I've had in my fridge for a bit, but I've been kind of saving it. It's a watermelon blonde from Hamilton out in Rancho. So I had that one. I was debating between that one and a porter, but the porter's like 9.5. So I was like, maybe I should just maybe have something a little lighter to start. Well, yeah, go ahead.
I don't know what it's like there right now. It's pretty warm in Colorado too, but good choice.
Oh yeah, it's been pretty warm out here. It's like, not too warm, but like in the mid 80s. So not too bad, but still, pretty warm.
Cool.
Man, so cheers, man.
Cool. Yeah, cheers.
So one thing I always love to ask everybody is, like, how did you get started? Obviously, being the competition director, but like your craft beer journey in general, how did that all start for you?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's wild. I mean, the first thing I did right out of college, actually, I worked for the Brewers Association as an intern in like their advertising and sponsorship department. And that kind of kicked it off. I was a little into craft beer when I was in college and stuff, and then kind of getting into the really, not even really recognizing that whole craft beer world that was out there. And that was like in 2009, but kind of just delving into that was like, man, I really want to do this. And so from there, I got more involved and interested in like the AHA, the home brewing side, and then was really interested in kind of working with our member breweries and stuff, and just kind of kicked it off. And honestly, I've been here ever since. So I never thought I'd be at one place for so long, but I've been with the Brewers Association for 15 years. So it's been a great ride.
That's awesome. And like when you got into craft beer, like, so have you always been in Boulder? Because that's where you're located, right?
I grew up in Colorado. I went to school in Boulder and, really was just looking for jobs out of college and just found this listed on found the internship listed on the university webpage of job postings and things.
Oh, wow.
And then, like I said, just kind of delved into it. And yeah, I live just outside of Boulder, like about 20 minutes, like southeast. And yeah, so I'm kind of like Colorado born and bred.
That's cool, man. I mean, because it's crazy how you hear somebody's story and it's like, you could think that everybody's kind of destination is the same, but obviously the journey's different. But for you, I mean, just finding something like that. So were you into craft beer in college as well? Or was it just like you were just looking for a job?
A little bit. I mean, I can't say that I was like this major enthusiast at that point in time. I was, at the time I turned 21, I was kind of looking for like different beers out there to say like, oh, I'm going to try this thing. So, I was like familiar with it, but I'm obviously much more familiar with it now. And once I kind of got into that world, it expanded the world a lot more. So.
Oh man, that's so cool. I mean, I just feel like, cause even for me, I think, craft beer, obviously, even like you were mentioned in 2009 was still kind of in its infancy, really. Like it didn't really, until it started to really blow up. But I mean, it's where it's at now and like the growth that we're seeing, like when even though we may not see as many breweries open, we are seeing like the really good breweries expand, I feel like.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think when I started, there were something like 2,000 or 3,000, like maybe right around 3,000 breweries in the US. And, I've seen it at the peak so far with like 10,000 and it's just been insane. So, and like I was always working pretty much on the event side. And so we could kind of see it as a good indicator of how things were going because we'd watch like the Great American Beer Festival grow from like a couple hundred breweries at the festival to like 800 breweries at the festival.
Yeah.
On the competition side, it'd be like, like 2,000 entries, 3,000 entries, growing to like 10,000 entries. So it's wild to see like kind of this growth over those, 10 to 15 years.
Oh, I bet. And especially like, WBC was just recently. Like, what are your days kind of consist of, like being the competition director and, heading up all that?
Sure. So, I mean, World Beer Cup used to be, I don't know how much you know about the competition, but it used to be a every other year thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2024 would have been the first, or I guess 2023 would have been the first every year one.
Okay.
So we started doing it every year. So now it's kind of like we basically finish up World Beer Cup, start working immediately on Great American Beer Festival. And then that just kind of goes back and forth. And then, then we also throw in the National Homebrewers Competition as well, which happens kind of over the summer, and that's all homebrew focused. But yeah, I mean, on a daily basis, like when we kick off the competition, I spend most of the time, on the front end, setting up the style, like how we're going to break down the styles for the competition base. And we usually base it off of what was happening the previous year in terms of like number of entries by category. Like, do we need to expand and maybe put some subcategory in its own place, things like that. So kind of arranging the style categories, start to source judges pretty early because we need a lot of judges to run the competition. So start pretty early on judge invitations. And then once the beers register, like today, for instance, we opened up Great American Beer Festival registration. So as the beers start coming in and we know how many beers we're going to have, then and we line up judges and everything, it comes to like scheduling out, like how are we going to judge all these beers? Like, when's everything going to get judged? Who's going to be at the table? It's just a lot of like, fitting puzzle pieces together because, certain judges can't judge certain categories because like they have a beer in it, or maybe they're allergic to the style, or maybe they just really don't like the style. They're not a good judge for it. So it's kind of just, putting all those pieces together and then getting a lot of like operational things in place, like what do we need to run this, like, material wise and all those things. So yeah, it definitely keeps us busy doing this stuff.
That's awesome. That sounds like I've always wanted to go. I mean, so maybe one day I'll have to either go to GABF or I'll have to go to WBC, but it just seems like such a fun time. And obviously, like, I know there's, obviously you guys take care of like the judges and stuff like that because, I mean, you can only have so many beers before you start feeling it, right? So what's that like for the judges?
Yeah. So usually, the typical way we run the competitions, and this has been steady for, quite a while. So it's a method that works, but we have, their days they're usually divided up into 2 sessions of judging. And those sessions are about like 3 to 4 hours each. And within each of those 3 to 4 hour stretches, they each have 3 flights of beer.
Okay.
So, and those flights will be anywhere from like, each judge will have anywhere from 9 to 12 beers in front of them. And they usually take about an hour or so to get through those beers. So they'll do individual evaluations of those beers, kind of write down what they think, what they perceive in the beer, how it stacks up. And then they'll kind of open it up to the table and talk with their fellow judges about how they feel about those beers, see if everybody's on the same page, and then decide what's going forward. So remember, when they're doing those samples, those are only 2-ounce samples, and they may not even drink that whole thing. They're tasting it just enough to kind of like get the overall sensory impression, aroma, look at the beer, all that stuff. So that's kind of what it consists of. And, you're right. We have to be careful when scheduling judges too. We try and be really mindful. I try and be really mindful when building out the competition that we're not sitting one judge down with 3 flights of beer that are all like imperial stouts.
Oh yeah.
You got double IPA, imperial stouts, and barrel aged stuff, cause it'll just crush their palates, and it'll also like knock them out. So, we try and be really mindful of how we're scheduling so that we're balancing sort of people keeping their wits about them, also not losing their palate. So they get into the second flight and they really don't know what they're tasting because their palate's just shot from something big. So, like we keep IPAs at the end of the day.
Okay.
Barrel aged stuff, usually high ABV stuff, we usually try and push towards the end of the day.
Awesome. That's so cool. And it's cool to carry that kind of insight, because I've always been curious about it, like just about what, like, everything entails for, obviously for you, for, the other people involved and the judges and stuff like that. So it's always been like kind of fascinating to me about all that stuff. Did you have a favorite, or do you have like your favorite style of beer that you enjoy the most?
Oh, I'm like all over the board. It really just kind of depends on the situation and the
Okay.
setting that I'm in, I feel like, time of year it varies. You start getting into fall and the winter, I'll start going like on the maltier side, a little bit on the bigger side, but always a fan. It just kind of depends. Am I in like a hoppy mood or am I in a malty mood? I certainly love like a great IPA. I usually like them to be nice and clean, and that kind of goes for like any beer. I kind of like them a little bit on the drier side and, just like a clean profile. So that's, but it's really all over the board. If I want something different or something special, I usually go for like some of the Belgian styles, like a double or triple or something like that. But really, it's kind of like, what sounds interesting at the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm with you because every year I get a couple buddies together and we have something called Stoutsgiving because it's getting kind of colder. You want to have something like that. But I also love I love my West Coast. I love like lagers, pilsners, all that sort of stuff. But even doubles, triples when I can kind of get into it. Double IPAs. But man, if it's done right, I mean, I'll drink anything.
Yep, I know. I'm the same way. Good beer is a good beer. So I just love appreciating like a good one when you have it. So.
Oh, for sure. And I've always felt like, even with the craft beer community, because some people say, well, I'm not a beer person, but I always feel like there is a beer for everyone out there. It's just a matter of finding it.
Yep. I would agree 100% with that.
Did you ever get into the brewing side?
A little bit. It's been a while now. I have 2 small kids at home and I would say that like, I would love to get back into home brewing, but it's been a while. I think I went through like a heavy duty period when my wife and I got married. We had like a pretty big wedding. And so we just brewed beer like on repeat week after week to just make enough to give away to people at our wedding.
Yeah.
But I think that was like the last time that I really brewed, but I do love it. I just want to find the time to do it again.
Oh, of course. Did you have a favorite style you used to like to brew when you had the time to?
I would always try and pick I think the first one I brewed was just like a straight up IPA and just to try and like get my bearings, the first time I tried to brew. Sure. And then we were having fun. Like when we were brewing that beer for our wedding, we were doing a Belgian wit beer and we added like a little weird stuff. Like I made threw in like a touch of lavender or something like that and tried to make it a little crazy, but yeah, I don't know. It's all over the board. I think if I were to brew now, because it's funny, I think I have a different appreciation now for like stuff that I like and appreciate how brewers do it. I think I'd love to try some lagers and like, put in the time and dedication to do some really good lagers, but never did anything like that before. So.
Oh yeah. That's cool, man. I mean, and if you ever do it, I mean, let me know. We may have to ship something and I'll pay for the shipping.
Sure. I don't know. I got to taste it first, make sure it's worth it.
Oh, I'm sure it would be. So you get into the industry, right out of college, was there a like craft beer that you had that you were like, man, this is kind of what beer could be for you?
I mean, I feel like I'm thinking of like the time when that was and sort of what I had available there. One of the obvious ones that was like a standout, like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale was one of those ones that was like, whoa, this is different. But then kind of going further on that line up here, Boulder Beer had a beer that looked wild. It was hazed and infused. And it was just like this, it was like a very hoppy IPA. And it was, I think I remember having that and, like a wild label. It was bottles back then, not cans. And it was like, whoa, this is very different like that. And I think Dale's Pale Ale were some of the bigger ones that were like, this is crazy, like I like this. So those were some fun ones to try out back then. And, I think, as I mentioned, like once I kind of got into this realm, it was like, I was just kind of, let me try everything. Let's see what there is. I want to try all these different things that people are making. So.
Oh, for sure. It's like at that point, you're like a kid in a candy store because you're like, you probably have all these different options to go after. So,
yeah, and it's just fun to look for stuff. And, like when I had started, the staff here, we were starting to get into like doing BJCP, like the beer judge certification program training. And like Cicerone had just started in like its infancy. So we were kind of doing all that stuff. So we would collectively go out and find all these different styles to kind of like study with these things. And it was kind of like eye opening to see all these different things and really, start learning about all these different styles, which I think that honestly, I feel like that plays a big part in why I like the competition so much, just because it's cool to know of all the different styles and like have a decent understanding of what those are. And just like, I think it's a cool appreciation of like tradition in beer, but it's also a cool appreciation of like innovation and like new stuff, that's going on. So it's fun to, I think that's like the fun side of it.
Oh, for sure. I bet. I mean, and honestly, like, that's one of the reasons why, I mean, and I say it ad nauseum, so I'm sure my listeners are probably like, come on, dude, cut it out already. But like, the craft beer community to me is like unlike any other community out there. Like whether it's like, because there's the big competition, but you still like, everybody still wants each other to succeed for the most part, And to me, it's like that. What other industries like that?
For sure. Yep. I'd agree totally. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about it too, is it's like everybody's competing, but everybody's so excited to see like their friend win, and they're just ready to try again next time and like cheer that other person on. So yeah, it's definitely the cool part of the industry.
Oh, definitely. And I always love to ask too, because especially like, from being from a different state and being over in Boulder, like I know like Colorado Springs is like a hotbed for like craft breweries. I know there's a ton out there. I've been to a few out to like Red Leg and Pikes Peak and a few other ones. In Boulder, are there any like ones that you like frequent like often when you obviously with the kids? I know it can be a little tough, but
Yeah, sure. I mean, Boulder's got a great scene. I think it was like 15 something breweries in Boulder.
Nice.
And honestly, outside of Boulder and into like, you get into some of the suburbs between Denver and Boulder, and like Denver's got a great beer scene. Yeah. Colorado, I feel like we're really lucky. It's very similar to like California and stuff. I think there's a lot of breweries and a lot of cool stuff. And, I mean, Boulder, I think more recently a really cool one is Wild Provisions up here, which is related to another brewery, Four Noses in Colorado. And they do cool stuff. They do like dark Czech lagers, and then also a lot of like wild and barrel aged and sour stuff too. But I mean, their Czech lagers are awesome. So they make some really cool stuff there. But yeah, I mean, I think, the fact that I don't know if it's totally based on this, but the fact that the Brewers Association is based in Colorado definitely I think fosters some good brewery community here too as well. But we have a great local state guild that I think just does a lot to help out those brewers. So we've got a really good beer scene pretty much all throughout the sort of like Denver metro and Rocky Mountain corridor.
That's awesome. So like, I know World Beer Cup started in the 90s. So when did GABF start?
GABF was back in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, I want to say it's 80. Let's say it's 86. I hope I'm not wrong on that. But yeah, like mid 80s. I should have known that before.
Oh, you're
good.
This
thing. But yeah, the 80s. Yeah, but so I think we did our 30th back in 2015, 2016. So yeah, it's been around for quite a while.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, and I love like the longevity, and like one thing I love about obviously the craft beer stuff is when you can find one of those like, older craft breweries, because obviously it's still like we talked about like how it was in its infancy in the early to late 2000s. But like places like Tustin Brewery that have been around for like 28 years, it's like, to me, like those are like, those breweries like that are like the testament to what this industry can be, and still is.
For sure. Yep.
When you guys start getting like all the like the beers come in, how far in advance before WBC do you get all that stuff?
Sure. So we do, typically everything comes in, I'm going to say like roughly a month before we start judging. World Beer Cup's a little different, in sort of that timeline, because we have beers coming in from overseas. So that is, it's tough for those breweries, because not only, we do a lot to set up consolidated shipments. I think we have 9 different ones around the world that basically they'll ship to this place, and then we get the group shipment into the United States. But there's so much that has to be done in terms of customs clearance and getting those beers into the United States. We have to do a lot with like the FDA to get approval, and all these various things that we have to do that make it really difficult. So their timeline, we try and narrow that timeline a lot more, but those guys start getting their beers out maybe even like 1 to 2 weeks in advance of that, if not more. But we get all the beers. Usually they all land at our facility roughly about a month before when you think about it, we're getting, we'll say like for the past few years, we've had something like 2,000 plus breweries entered in the competition, and each of those have anywhere from like 3 to 5 beers. So, and when they send in those beers, they come in like, they could each have like 5 or so boxes. Think about like maybe a box per beer. And our team has to open those all up, separate them out, because basically what we do once we get them is we separate them out by category that they're going to get judged in. And then we organize those into those categories. So it takes us about 3 weeks.
Wow.
So to speak, like three weeks of like 3 shifts per day. And we have a lot of amazing volunteers that do it too, that just work for like 3 weeks straight, getting everything sorted. They double check. They do a lot of inventory to make sure it's there. And it's quite a lot, like once it's all finished up, we have to take a lot to sort of catalog it and palletize it the right way, because we have to palletize it. We have like, 20 to 30 pallets of beer that we have to put in order, and like in order of boxes, so that when we pull those off the truck, we're going in digging for boxes, but those are the right boxes that we're going to use, that session of that day to judge those beers. So it takes a lot to kind of get that all organized, but we've got just so many amazing people that dedicate their time and, their knowledge to do that.
That's so cool. I mean, it's cool that you guys get to you get to do that. And then, like you said, with all the volunteers and people helping out, I mean, that's what this community is all about. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree.
Did you have any ones that you might have had over during WBC that you kind of that where you're like, oh man, this would be it for me if you were doing that?
What do you mean, for like a beer or something like that?
Oh yeah, like maybe like any ones that you tried while you were out there or anything like that?
Unfortunately, I don't get to try as many as you might think when we're there. Most of them are down to the table. So yeah,
that's understandable.
I'm trying to think of it as it's occasionally like some of our awesome competition staff will come over and be like, oh, the judges love this one, give it a try, but it's pretty rare. So there's nothing that really comes to mind. And usually we're running a lot while the competitions are going on. But so I wish I had a good answer for that one, but I don't have anything off the top of my head.
Oh, it's all good. No worries. Did
you know that any of those? Yeah.
Any
of those award winners those are the ones.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know there was quite a few of them that I got to try before, they actually won the award. So I was like, oh man, I got to have that beer when I was out. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's always a cool feeling. I love that too.
Oh, definitely. Did you do you have any fun, kind of interesting, stories from either this year or last year or years past from the competitions?
Man, I saw that you asked this question, and I wish I had a really good one. There's nothing that I really want to share on the air, because it's any of the ones that I would say are funny are more potentially things that are nightmare scenarios that it's so, and really, none of them have happened. So those are good, but luckily a competition without any good stories, I feel like is a good one, Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's good.
Occasionally judges try and mess with them, and that's, those are good ones, but I could put it in, if there's ever any brewers that watch this, there's always some funny stories of getting called over to a steward table when they're pouring the beers for a competition. And it's more like a cautionary tale to make sure they're really paying attention when they send in their entries, because inevitably each year I'll get called over to a table that's pouring international light lagers, and they'll pour out a beer that's in a can that's unmarked, but it's labeled for an international lager, and it pours out syrupy jet black or something like that. And it's, it's just one of those situations where the brewer had a bunch of blank cans and they labeled it up and mixed up which beer was which. So it's one of those things to make sure that you're really watching out and putting the right labels on the right things. But otherwise, nothing really that I can speak of.
Oh yeah, you definitely don't want a syrupy light lager, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I was love to ask as well, do you have a favorite kind of beer that you like to pair with food, or if you had to choose between wings, pizza, maybe tacos or something like that, what would you prefer with a beer?
Oh, I saw that question too that you asked, and I was just thinking beer and food is one of my favorite things to kind of do together. I'm always, I love my beer and pizza together. I think that's great. It's great having a good crisp lager with pizza, but I do I was thinking about, summer's coming around and we're getting
Oh,
into
yeah.
like barbecue season. I always feel like it's fun to do like smoked brisket or smoked pork with like
Mm-hmm.
a Grodziski. Do you know what that is?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, like a light. It's like a low ABV, light, like wheat. It's a Polish style. It's got light smoke in it, and it's like kind of a little tart, but it's a fun style. Like Live Oak out of Texas makes a really, really great one. And
Okay.
more breweries are kind of making those now, but it's like a perfect barbecue and beer because it's got that little smoke in it. So if you're getting smoked out at the grill and you're having that, it kind of goes hand in hand. But that's a good like summer pairing, I feel like.
Awesome. And I was one thing I was like to ask, because it's not putting you on the spot, but like, do you have a favorite, like a desert island beer?
Ooh, I do. I don't know if, and I actually don't think they make it anymore, but one of my just standard go-tos out here, I think one of my, a brewery I really appreciate and like pretty much most of the beers that they do is Odell Brewing Company out of Fort Collins, Colorado. And their 5-barrel pale ale was one of my favorite beers, like forever.
Oh.
It was one of their big production brands, and I don't think they make it anymore in production, but they do make it at one of their tap houses in Denver. And that's a great beer. Just excellent, just solid, balanced pale ale. It was a really good one.
Awesome. For Boulder, like, 'cause I know we mentioned, like, like you said, there's about 15 breweries. What are, like, if somebody was going to go out to Boulder and like just maybe get off the beaten path and maybe hit a couple breweries, where should they go?
Yeah, I think that Wild Provisions one for sure. That's a great choice. I always love, it's kind of like I'd say it's definitely it's a Boulder identity for sure. There's like a brew pub collective up here called the Mountain Sun Brewery. So Mountain Sun has got 2 locations.
Okay.
And they got always a big lineup of beer. They always have like an annual stout month they do. It's a fun place to go for lunch. It's like, I don't know. It's good, like good food, nothing. It's all like super down home, nothing too fancy, but that's a great place to check out just because it's a good vibe. Yeah. I'm thinking, once you get outside of Boulder just a little bit, like there's 12 Degree makes some really great Belgian beers.
Okay.
Cellar West makes some really good Belgian and other stuff just right outside of Boulder too. So yeah, you don't have to go far to find good beer up here.
I know we've talked a little bit about the craft beer industry, like about what we love. Like, if you were going to give some advice to somebody about, either becoming a brewer or starting a brewery or anything like that, or if they wanted to get into the competition side, like what kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah. I mean, in the beer industry is, as many know, it's a little tough these days. So I would say, you want to make sure that you have to love what you do, because it's a tough place to be right now. It's tough work. It's hard work. It's a lot of hard work, but you got to make sure you're good at what you do, because you have to make sure that the beer stands on its own and that people want to come after that beer. And then I would also say that you want to make sure, this is maybe the less attractive piece to a lot of people, but you want to make sure you have a good business plan or a good business partner. Cause it's not, sometimes it's not just enough for just the beer to speak for itself right now. So I'd say, just as long as you are passionate about it and you've got kind of a good business plan to back that up, that's the best starting place you can be going from. And, on the competition side, I'd say volunteer with your local if you're interested in getting into competitions. There's so many, local or regional homebrew competitions that are just looking for, need people to volunteer and help, just like we do too. And so I think that's always a great way to get your foot in the door and kind of understand how they work, because they all work a little different. Like ours is different from other smaller ones or other big ones too. Everyone works a little bit differently, and you kind of get in and, help with some that you like, or if you want to be on the judging side, you can start doing some studying with BJCP stuff or with Cicerone and kind of get some your style knowledge to get in there, and then just start, judging and putting your name in the hat to judge at these smaller competitions. Cause, it does worlds for your beer knowledge if you're interested in that, and expanding that. I feel like it does so much to help you expand that knowledge. So competitions are just a great way to learn about the beer industry and sort of get your pulse on the industry too. So it's a fun place to be.
That's awesome. I mean, and even I feel like with like you mentioned, like with the BJCP and stuff like, or the BJCP and all that stuff too. Like if you can like educate yourself, I mean, even within the brewing side, because then that just, I mean, I feel like that elevates, like say if you opened up a brewery and you're able to pour that beer and you're able to tell that customer what went into it, like, you know, and all of that sort of stuff and what kind of notes to look for. And you can maybe, you know, even if like we mentioned earlier, how some people may not be into craft beer so much, but you can give them, you know, kind of impart your knowledge onto them or your beer education onto them so they can know what to kind of look for with other styles that they try or that are maybe that are brewed with certain hops and stuff.
For sure. Yep. Totally agree. Yeah. I mean, getting that sort of that beer education, it sounds silly, but I think it's really helpful. And like it does, it helps, you know, if you're getting into the industry or you want to explain to others that, you know, you want to like help get others into beer, that's just a great way to do it. Cause, you know, if you can kind of break down and understand a little bit why people may or may not like something or like what may help them to like, you know, why they might like one thing over another because they don't like this other thing. I think that's a great way to be. And it really helps them and ultimately kind of helps beer out too. So.
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. Being from Colorado, by chance, do you like the Avalanche?
I do. I'm terrible at following sports, but if I were going to follow one, hockey would be the one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, same, because I'm a big Avalanche fan. I mean, it sucked when they got eliminated recently, but still, like, I followed them since I was a kid, so, like, they're my ride or die till the day I die, so.
Nice. Yep. Love going to Avs games when I can, for sure.
Well, that's awesome. And how far is Boulder from Denver?
Not far. You know, it's like 20 miles ish, you know, about say like 30-minute drive. Not bad.
Oh, nice.
It's close. You know, I live right between Denver and Boulder and I love it. I love being able to go either way.
Oh, that's sweet. And I think it was it Val Nichushkin or somebody. I mean, he had to go to rehab, but I can't remember what player it was that they mentioned after they won the cup a couple of years ago, how they drank the town dry pretty much.
Yeah, it was great. Anytime we have like those parades here, those are a good time. And, you know, like we've been lucky with ads and nugs and stuff like that for, you know, some years. So we get some good times for those.
Oh yeah. So I'm sure you're in full prep mode for GABF because when does the competition start for everybody that may not know?
Yeah, we opened up registration now, but the competition doesn't actually happen until October. Basically, we'll start some judging in late September. But yeah, right now, you know, I'm just getting ready to put the call out for judges, and we're getting all the beers in. So you know, we'll over the next few weeks we'll kind of know where we stand in terms of entries and everything, and that's when all like the sort of the scheduling and planning that I was talking about go in. So we're gearing up for sure. And we did it a little different this year. We usually have done sort of the festival and the competition registration going on at the same time, but we kind of booked up the festival a few weeks in advance, which is really cool. So we're looking at a really good festival. I think right now we have something like 400 plus breweries that are going to be there. So yeah, it's shaping up to be a pretty cool year.
That's awesome. And I bet like the city probably just like loves all that because I mean, bringing in all the, you know, all the people in each year, I'm sure that generates a ton of revenue, obviously for craft beer and then obviously for the city as well.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. I mean, that's one thing we always talk with them about. And over the past few years we're, you know, we do have people coming from all over and booking up hotel rooms and, you know, local breweries wind up doing a lot of business that week. So it's pretty huge for the city and it, you know, all those beer lovers descend upon Denver and yeah, it's a fun time for sure. And it's that community we were talking about, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Chris, I know I don't want to keep you too long, but I just wanted to say, man, I appreciate you doing this. It's been fun for me. And I felt so bad because I know WBC had just ended and I emailed you right away. I was like, oh man, don't be a jerk. Like give him some time to respond.
Don't worry. No biggie at all. No, I'm glad he did. Yeah, it's fun for sure.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, like we'll stay on and chat for a minute, but like I said, I really appreciate it. This has been a blast. I'm going to have to eventually get out there. Maybe I'll go out there this October to hang out and have a beer with you.
For sure. It'd be a good time to do it. It's going to be a pretty fun festival this year.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And we're going to jump right into David Hurtado from Bone Shack.
All right, guys. We're back in the tap room, and I'm your host, Mike. I have a very special returning guest, actually. He's getting ready to take off to Texas. Mr. Bone Shack BBQ himself, David Hurtado. What's going on, brother?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. Glad we got to hang out a little bit before you head out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
What are we drinking? I think we're drinking the Mexican lager.
Yes.
Yep. Oh yeah, I like that one where they brew with the lime and salt. Some good stuff.
It's perfect for this heat right now.
Oh yeah, it's been so warm. But yeah, tell us something. You're leaving to Texas. I know we kind of talked about it off air, but could you tell us like what kind of we just going out there for work or family?
All of the above, actually. Just trying to get our family more settled in and stuff like that with the kids, and just here in California, it's pretty hard to be able to get a house, and
yeah,
an apartment isn't really ideal, especially for the prices that they're
going.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we just kind of came up on some opportunities over in the Fort Worth area, and we have family over there. My wife's from there, and everything just kind of just laid out perfectly. And I was like, all right, well, let's just roll with it because it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Work's out there, family's out there, found a house, like everything just worked out. Like no speed bumps.
Awesome, man. Well, I mean, congratulations to get to go out there because you're right. It's crazy right now. I mean, my rent goes up every year. Like this year, like what it normally goes up about $60 a year. This year it doubled.
Yeah.
And it's like, man.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Like, for this, especially with like the company that I work for, I can make the same amount as I make in California.
Yeah.
And cheaper cost of living.
For sure.
We're renting a house, and one of the house that we found, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-car garage, like central AC, just right outside of downtown and stuff like that. And it's like $1,700 a month, man. I'm like, dude, like
can't beat it. Yeah. Can't beat that. Oh man. But that's exciting, man. It's cool. And obviously Bone Shack's going to keep going. What are your plans?
Yeah. So my plans are to really make Bone Shack grow. I mean, I've been kind of growing the past 4 years, and I'm finally at the point where I don't want to be doing pop-ups. I want to be a brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
And more so, I want to be a destination spot. I want people to hear about me from different states.
Yeah.
And just fly to one area just to try Bone Shack BBQ.
Exactly. Love it. And I mean, for the people that maybe are new listeners that haven't gotten back to to that, because you were on episode 22, so it was over 50 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were my first ever pop-up that I did. So
yeah, that's true.
So awesome. But tell like the listeners about your menu and like what you specialize in and stuff like that.
I specialize in really just kind of just bringing back the old school barbecue. I'm taking Carolina style cooking methods to where I'm cooking everything direct heat and just serving up, platters of food just the way like how it used to be. I mean, everything's market style. You get your meats by the half pound or by the pound.
Yeah.
And, you just get as much as you want. Everything comes with pickles and bread and side sauces, and your sides are separate. So just really trying to bring back that old school vibe and that flavor. I mean, there's a lot of good modern barbecue out there, but I feel like the old ways is being lost.
Yeah.
And it's something we need to still hold on to.
Oh, yeah.
And, and a lot of people love it, man. I mean, some people just love just the good old fashioned way of, having a slice of Wonder Bread with, your brisket drippings on your platter, just mop it up.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of my drive, just to really bring back the old school ways. And, some of my sides, like I'm bringing back hush puppies, like nobody's ever doing hush puppies anymore. And,
oh, yeah.
Serving up with the side of honey butter and just get back to the roots.
Yeah. I mean, and even I love your brisket was delicious when I tried it that first time. Oh, I mean, all the food was really great. I know like the biggest hit with, my ex now, like her family loved like that chorizo mac and cheese.
Yeah. And that's definitely everybody's favorite. And, that's kind of a little more modern.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of a twist to an old dish. I mean, you always got macaroni, mac and cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Beans and potato salad and slaw and hush puppies, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's been my pick. But yeah, the chorizo mac and cheese, it's really good. I mean, it's a blend of different cheeses, and just the cooking method that's put into it is kind of what really like refines it. and there's a lot of steps into making the cheese sauce. It's not just, you're putting shredded cheese in a pan with macaroni and just letting it melt down.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like work into it, like building a roux and, just how you whisk it and adding the cheeses and getting that nice like velvety cheese sauce.
Oh, for sure. Because I know there's certain things like if you get it too hot, it could be grainy. Like it can turn the cheese sauce kind of grainy, and that's never good. Yeah, so you're 1,000% right. Once you dial in that recipe, it's like, oh yeah, so good.
Yeah, and that's definitely one that that's a Bone Shack staple.
Oh yeah. Oh man. So when you get out there, because I know you're leaving in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm shooting for somewhere in August, like mid-August, I'm hoping.
Gotcha. When you first get out there, are you going to be doing like pop-ups still or until you open up the brick and mortar? What kind of what's the timeline you feel like for that?
Well, when I first get out there, I'm going to just kind of take it easy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If I do any barbecuing, it's just probably going to be like between friends and family.
Okay.
Just kind of get settled in.
For sure.
And not going to lie, there's a few places that I really have been wanting to go to.
Okay.
So kind of want to, now that I'm going to be finally over there, go visit some couple of spots, some towns that I've been wanting to visit. There's a few barbecue joints that I've really been wanting to check out.
Okay.
And so, yeah, just kind of do that. And, hopefully by the holiday season, maybe do a few specials.
Okay.
But yeah, eventually I want to start doing pop-ups. I mean, I might have to restart like how I used to, just out of the front yard and, work my way into local breweries over there.
Yeah.
But I think that downtime is what I'm going to use as networking as well.
Yeah.
And so, I have a friend out there too who lives on the eastern side of Texas. And so he's another barbecue guy. And we grew up since middle school. And, he's bringing the whole hog game and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, a while back, I want to say about 2 years ago, here at Noble, Tacos El Gringo and we did a collab.
Okay.
And we cooked a whole hog over here.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
That friend who lives over in Texas happened to be visiting.
Oh, nice.
And came and joined and stuff like that. So it was really cool. It was really cool, not just to see him, but to be able to like share that experience with them. And now I'm going to go over on his turf and be like, all right, man, let's do it. Let's load up both of our pits with pigs,
Oh, for sure. That's cool. I mean, especially you get that collaboration. You get to be with your buddy, like you said, you've known him since middle school. And like, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool though, like you said, like you have some family out there. Now you have friends out there. You're not just going out there, with that not knowing anybody. But yeah, like if you started doing, even that, step out in your front yard or anything like that, and then making your way into breweries. Because I mean, the second I know people try your stuff, they're gonna, you got to come over and do this with us.
Yeah, and that's, I'm not intimidated. I'm ready.
Yeah,
like I'm ready to introduce Texas to Bone Shack BBQ.
Yeah,
because I can't think of anybody that actually does like direct heat briskets and direct heat shoulders, like everything direct heat.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are doing, either the whole hogs or they're doing the ribs or maybe like pork steaks. But 90% of the people out there are cooking their briskets with an offset.
Yeah.
Which is common. That's, the modern Texas offset cooker, and then I want to bring in like my style and a whole different flavor profile. And I think that's what's going to separate me just from everybody else. And like, I'm ready for it. I want Bone Shack to just blow up, man.
Oh, and I have no doubt. I mean, especially because you're not doing the, like, like you said, almost like their traditional kind of thing. You're doing it like the real, like the OG way, right? And like even doing it on direct heat, how your brisket's so tender and like your shoulder, like it's like, I don't know how you do it, but
Yeah. And that's really the trick. I mean, I think it's how we came up with the theme with our episode. You're not moving around your meats or anything and poking it with probes. You're shoveling coals and playing with fire.
Yeah. No, and that was such a fun episode. I mean, that's why I was like, and as soon as I heard that you were leaving, that's when I saw your post. I was like, oh, okay, well, I got to see if he's, available for, even just, 10, 15 minutes. being able to sit down with you and, say bye to you. And, hopefully, hey, once you get your brick and mortar, man, I'll be there. I'll fly out there.
Yeah, man. I mean, I really hope that when I have a brick and mortar, I have people out here from California coming out and, share a story like, man, I remember when you used to be like at Noble. I remember when you used to be at Suavecito Pomade, and it's like, dude, like, I want that. I want people to just have a destination spot.
Oh, for sure. And especially those people that have been along with you with the journey,
Yeah.
I had to quench my thirst there a little bit. It's never too early for a beer, right?
No.
Yeah.
Well, in Texas, it's 2 hours ahead, so it's perfect time.
Oh, yeah. It's noon there. Oh, man. But no, that's so cool. And I'm so excited for you. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to show them your way and everyone's going to freaking love it.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Is there anything that you think maybe like when you get there that you might want to be like, you know what, something you've always wanted to try to do, like maybe like another style of meat or anything like that you've been thinking about?
I can't really think of anything. I know there's been like desserts that I've been wanting to do.
Okay.
But that's something that's going to have to take in place once there's an actual like brick and mortar.
Yeah.
For now, I think I really just want to just showcase just the meats.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about. It's all about the meats.
For sure.
The sides are, they're great. They're amazing.
Well, they accentuate the, what you're bringing them in for the meat.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, just making the sausages that I make. And
no, the sausages are freaking good too.
Thank you.
It's like everything's good, but man, like, I know, like I said, I'm just really excited for you. I mean, it's sad to see you go, but glad that you're going to be able to, do something, do something better and, be able to, have your own place and stuff like that. Or I mean, like, your own house, your own brick and mortar, stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's a bittersweet, being a native here from California. It really sucks that I have to make the choice to leave. Yeah. But at the same time, I got to look at the brighter side. It's like, it's going to benefit, the family and it's going to benefit the business, really.
For sure. Well, man, like, I said, I just wanted to have you on for a few minutes and talk to you. And I'm just glad that we got to make it happen. I'm super excited for you. So this is your last event, right? Or you do have one more?
I have one more event.
Okay, where's it going to be?
It's going to be at Gunwale Ales.
Okay.
Yeah, in Costa Mesa. So it's going to be August 3rd, I believe.
Okay.
Which is a Saturday next week.
All right. Well, everybody, like, if you're listening, go down to Gunwale Ales and, get your ass some really damn good barbecue.
Love smoking bone, baby.
Damn right. Cheers, brother. Thanks
Cheers.
for coming on. We'll finish this sucker. All the best to you, brother.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It was fun to be able to talk to him for a little bit. And like I said, I'm looking forward to having some of his barbecue. He's got some killer stuff. So really looking forward to that. Fuck, I'm hungover and I got tacos and tamales waiting for me right now. I'm going to grow up like a motherfucker. What do we got coming up? So next week is the Sorry We're Drunk. The following week, oh man, why can't I think at the moment? I can't think. I think it'll be Asylum. I'm going to have to check that because I recorded with Asylum the other day. Also, I am recording with Tyler from Shadow Grove on Tuesday. We're just going to do a remote one because we're both really busy and it's tough to to work out a schedule, but I'm really excited to talk to her. The following weekend on Saturday, I'm going to be recording with Dario over at Burning Daylight. So excited for that as well. Even Danny and Jared hit me up the other day. They want to do like a collab episode, so we might be doing something there. We'll have to figure out some dates. But yeah, this episode's going to be on the shorter side considering the last couple have been pretty long. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoy it and stay tuned for the next couple weeks, okay? All right. Cheers, Tap Fam. And I was going to say, if you're at a kid's party, don't get too hammered. But fuck it, whatever. Shit happens. Cheers.